Good morning. We have Priya Amaresh here with us. She has been since 2021 serving as the Hindu chaplain at Duke University. She was born, oh, I should have asked you how to pronounce this one, Bengaluru, India, and grew up in Flint, Michigan. She completed a bachelor's in elementary education and a master's degree in curriculum development and instruction improvement. She moved North Carolina in 2006 with her husband, Amar, who is an interventional radiologist at Wake Med. They have 3 active and fun college-going children. She taught in the Durham Public Schools for 10 years as an AIG teacher. She teaches Sunday school for Hindu students in the Chinmaya Mission. She's a Hatha Yoga instructor since 2015. Practice of yoga for body, mind, and spirit in various settings and for all age groups. She's a lifelong learner and enthusiast for cultures, community building, and forming spiritual connections. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Being here, it's an honor to be part of the program to share a little bit about our faith. Today's topic, I call it the way of Hinduism, Hindu Dharma, or Sanathana Dharma.
You're good.
Okay. So I'm just going to start out with a quick centering prayer. We do a chant of Om, which is a sound vibration. Just chant this 3 times. Om. 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 And an opening prayer of peace. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we all be protected. May we all be nourished. May we all work together in harmony. May all our goals be fruitful. Let there be no differences amongst us. Let there be peace within me. Let there be peace around me and in the divine forces that work upon me. A Sanskrit prayer. Which of our scriptures are in Sanskrit, the ancient language? The Om that you see here is the essence of all of what Hinduism is. It is a vibration that connects us with our consciousness. And we are all of this supreme consciousness, they say. So I am serving as a Hindu chaplain currently here at Duke, and I am in the learning process. Every day I'm learning more and more about our wonderful faith. I bring my friend Soumya, who is directly coming from India, having delved into the scriptures and the teachings for the past couple of years. So she'll help me out wherever I may find a little flaw in what I'm saying, or if you have any questions to deepen your understanding. But Hinduism is an ancient religion. A religion, they say, based on our way of living, not just a religion that is a belief of some sort, but a way of life. Sanathana Dharma is the basis of what Hinduism is. Sanathana meaning it comes from time immemorial, ancient times, how it was passed down, and the great sages and rishis followed it. They received those teachings from above. Dharma means that path of life that leads you in the right direction, to sustain life in the right way. So to live a dharmic life is to live a life of virtue, righteousness, and to lead a moral, humanistic life. You may know one of the very popular religions in the world, among the major religions, the 3rd largest, mostly practiced in India, but across the universe, you'll find diasporas of Hindu culture everywhere in the world. Where it comes from, there are 6 schools of learning, of 6 schools of philosophy in Hinduism. The school I predominantly have studied in is Vedanta, based on the Vedic texts. So among the 6 schools, my interpretations, understanding, and the way I practice is Vedanta, close to our scriptures, what the scriptures teach us and what we expound from the scriptures. These scriptures are from the Vedas, the Upanishads. Itihasas are old times of past. They come down to us as stories, but of a story from a past history. So we don't call them mythologies. We call them a time of the past, a history of the past. So the Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita, these are 2 epics that much of our Hindu culture is based on. And may have heard recent times, in fact, just last week, one of the temples that was dedicated to the Lord Rama was brought again to life. This land in India on which Lord Rama was known to have been born was taken away for hundreds of years, and much dispute was taking place over that land, and a mosque was built on top of that very auspicious land where a Lord that we believe was born there. So a lot of strife over the years. Finally, that land was given back to the Hindus, and the Ram temple was created again. So a lot of celebration took place in India in the past weeks and months leading up to this reestablishment of that Lord that we find so divine to us. That temple was given back. So the Ramayana, I don't have it up here, but is a story of this Lord, one of the avatars, one of the incarnations we say of the Lord. Not going into what incarnations are, but these are essentially the texts that we study from. Puranas are stories that give us the moral values, that give us the understanding of how to lead that dharmic life, lead a righteous life. Upanishads are direct teachings. They are coming straight from the gods to the rishis who have these ability to experience and see beyond themselves. And those Upanishads were written down, and they're called Shrutis. They were heard and then shared, later written down, and then compiled into what are known as the Vedas. And the 4 Vedas is what we practice essentially in Hinduism. They give us the rites and the rituals of how we practice day-to-day life. They give us the understanding of what is the purpose of life. They give us an understanding how to connect with people, how to develop relationships, how to live in this world in a harmonious way. So those are the Vedas. Our Bhagavad Gita is essentially our Bible. That is the teachings from the Divine Lord given in a situation in one of our great epics I mentioned, the Mahabharata. There's Ramayana and the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata story is a war that takes place. And in that war, in the midst of the war, the Prince Arjuna is in a very fused state of mind because he has to fight against the enemy who happen to be his relatives, his brother, his kith and his kin, his cousins, his great teachers, and he has to fight them. And he is in a dilemma because he is fighting for righteousness. He's fighting to reestablish Dharma in this society where there has a lot of strife has happened. And so the Lord Krishna teaches him in the midst of this war why he must fight. And that is the path of karma, which we'll come into. So what are our pillars in our Hindu culture? This is what we aim for. Dharma, four pillars or 4 aims. Dharma is, again, many ways of understanding what Dharma is. So many beautiful meanings that given to Dharma. But most importantly, why am I here? What is my purpose? We all have a purpose in life. We're not here to have this body existing in this plane of being. There is a purpose for this physical body, for this mind, to conduct ourselves while we're here on this planet Earth. So why am I here? To understand the right way of living, understand the behaviors that will allow us to live a meaningful life. Dharma. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. 4 pillars. Artha, what do I need? So while I'm living on this earth, while I'm in this human form, what do I need to conduct myself so that I can interact well? So I need certain resources. I need a home. I need shelter. I need things. How do I get those things? I have to work for them. I have to do the right work. So karma. Dharma, the path. Artha, the resources. Karma, the actions. What do I want? I'm sorry, kama are the pleasures. These are the things that we want to have to make us feel good, to make us connect and live, in a way of life that shouldn't be upsetting but uplifting. Kama. And ultimately, our goal in life is moksha. Essentially, we all have, in most religions, the purpose is to be happy, to find happiness. And how do you find that happiness? When we have attained, strengthened these pillars around us, we can feel a sense of release of bondage. We don't have the attachments to the worldly aspects around us. We slowly let go and we find a greater connection to divinity, where there is no pulling at us, no pushing at us, but we have a deeper sense of being one with the divine. And that is moksha. Who am I? I am essentially that consciousness that has we're part of the creation, part of the creator. So the 4 pillars of Hindu culture. And again, just to repeat, these are the really strong tenets when you try to understand what is Sanatana Dharma, what is Hinduism. It is Dharma. It is to know your purpose on this earth. Karma. It is the actions.
But your previous slide had comma, K-A-M-A, and this is K-A-R-M-A. Are they the same thing?
2 different things. Kama, so in our 4 pillars, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Kama, we know we need to have enjoyment. We should feel good. We should have the pleasures of being in good company with others. We should feel comfortable. We should have the comforts that allow us to live a good life. So Kama is to enjoy the beauty of all that divinity gives us. Karma are actions. And you've probably heard this because now this has become a word in the Webster's dictionary, karma. Everybody says, oh yeah, that happened because of karma. So we kind of have one aspect of understanding what karma is. Our actions have reactions. There is a consequence to every action. But karma goes very deep. It goes not into this moment. You show up here and you receive something. You do something now and immediately something happens. It carries on further. It can carry on to lifetimes. Beyond this life is how we understand karma. So if you don't see the response or the consequence immediately, it'll happen, they say, at some point in some form. So all of our actions have to be very mindful. If we're very careful and cautious and deliberate in what we do in the right dharmic way, all good things will come. So karma. So a little bit more detail, a little bit more depth into this universal law of karma, often considered as the consequences. Whatever we put out there in the universe comes back to us. And the effort. So it's not just I'm doing something good because I want to get something good. The intention has to be there also. So if you're doing something for a result, you can't depend on that result. You are not the controller of the result. You're only the controller of your action. So do the work with the right effort, with the right intention. And whatever we receive, accept it. That was meant to happen. That was meant to come your way. Because of not a karma right now, my daughter said, I worked so hard. I studied so hard on that test, but I didn't do well on it. It's okay. accept it, and you have to work harder next time. Something must have been astray, something must have been flawed in that intention. Who knows why it happened that way, why the results happened that way? We don't know. We're not the controller of the results. We're only the controller of our action. Karma helps us to understand ourselves. It's a self-unfoldment. It's a growing process. Like you plant the seed and you allow it to sprout. You can't force it to sprout. It has to grow of its own accord at its own time, its own way. And that's only controlled by the Divine Lord. We don't have that ability to make something happen when we want it to happen. It happens when it's going to happen. We don't have that final say in what happens. It's just acceptance. We unfold slowly through the process. But it is our responsibility to lead a dharmic life, which will allow us to have good karmas. So there is good karma, there is bad karma. So how do we want to conduct our life? In a very harmonious way. So good deeds will bring good results. And karma is that which we know there is a connection, a past, a present, and a future. Who we are today is based on the actions and the efforts of our past. The families we're born into, the societies we come into, the places we are. It's amazing. It's hard to say what led us here. But if you go back, there's always a connection to what might have led us to where we are. And what we do today helps in building that future, but not anticipating. It's just knowing that our actions, we just have to be in our moment, in this present, doing our best that we can to lead that purposeful life. And whatever we receive, to be accepting of that. So there's always this thought that, my husband always says, oh, I have this desire and that desire. And my joke is always like, don't worry, you have to fulfill those desires. So you might come back in another life to finish those desires. I want to be this and I want to be that. There's so many things that we want to do in life. It'll happen if you have such a desire, if such an intent, want for something, it'll happen because of those attachments to those needs and desires. That's a essence of karma, but this is it's the karmic cycle. So in Hinduism, one of the unique tenets is the belief in reincarnation. So we come into this world with a balance, they say. You can look at it as like a bank balance with past karmas. So those desires that were unfulfilled in this life, we'll have to come back and make it happen. So it's called sanchita karma, a past balance. And while we're living in this life, we live out those karmas. We in our actions, in our behaviors, in our connections, we build, tend to, it's like you do good things, those good things, of course, will follow. So the product of karma is it was intended to happen, it's happening, and what we hope to happen will happen if we put in the right effort. And then finally, leaving, there's still a balance. So their ultimate goal is to be rid of karma, to have no wants, to have no desires, to have no anything, just to be at complete bliss, have a zero balance. And that's when you don't reincarnate, or you're not reborn. Reincarnation is given to the gods. Rebirth is given to humans. When they say reincarnation, we believe that that divine nature comes in a form of a spiritual master, in the form of a god, in the form of something that will help eliminate all the negative energies that may be happening in this world in some form. So that's a reincarnation of the divine. We are all part of that divine. We're called a soul of that larger consciousness. So Atma Jivatma is that individual soul. We all are one spirit. But that spirit, part of the larger spirit called Paramatma, that divine soul. And that goal of that soul is to attain moksha. Also, you may know it as nirvana, enlightenment. When that soul has no desires, no needs, nothing, that soul unites with Paramatma. And Paramatma is that divine consciousness. That is the self-realization. When you realize this individual self is really part of the larger self, then there's union. And that's self-realization, that is enlightenment. And that is the ultimate goal in our Sanathana Dharma. I could stop right there, but there's so much more. I'm gonna share a little bit more about how the details are, how we are given in this human form. Sorry, go ahead.
But watching online, I realized when people use the mics, it's so helpful. So, you had said I could stop right there. So on a moksha, what percentage or what does that look like in life, or how many people make it? How many might be there now? And what is that on a human level? You know, what,
How do you
what, yeah,
experience moksha?
yeah, and what might that look like? If you were to see someone in that state, so.
I wouldn't see it, you wouldn't see it, they would experience it. When you're in moksha, you don't know I'm in moksha. You are just there. There is no wondering or no questioning. When I see an enlightened person who is just equanimous in mind, has just a state of balance, I may think they are attaining moksha. But I am not one to say or judge or see. It is the experience of the individual. Somebody, do you have any?
Some example they say is like when you're asleep. Like when you're asleep, only a sleeper doesn't know he's sleeping. And I don't know if he's asleep or not. He might be faking it, right? But the experience after having woken up, he can say, yeah, I was asleep. It's like that. There are liberated people all over the world at all times, but a percentage, I don't know, you can't judge, you can't tell. It's that person's state of mind being free. Hard to judge them. Does that make
Thank you.
Any other questions? This is very intense about karma. This is from the scriptures of the Bhagavad Gita. This is one of my favorite verses. And this is a verse we teach all the students. And we say, memorize this. Karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbur ma te sangosva karmani. You have the right to work only, but never to its fruits. Let not the fruits of action be your motive, nor let your attachment be to inaction. So basically, it is we put the effort in, and whatever happens, we receive the fruits. We don't work for the results. If we're working just for the results, that journey is going to be lost. The joy in learning up to receiving or gaining, whatever it is we gain, we won't experience it. And you don't have a right to not act. We all have to be in action in some way to achieve whatever goals we may have. We're in whatever role you may play, whether you're a student or you're a teacher or you're a mother or a daughter, you have a role to play and to play it to the best of your ability, to not expect anything in return, but just to do. We all know that when we expect, we're often disappointed. So when you let go of the expectations and just do the work, whatever happens, you're a little bit more lenient in what happens. You're not as stuck to those results or disappointed by the results, or so those ups and downs, those roller coaster anxieties and joys we feel, we let that go when we just do the work and receive whatever comes our way.
I was wondering, are you familiar with the thing that, oh, sorry.
I'm wondering if you're familiar with the words that Jesus said that are very confusing, which are, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. And I'm wondering if it might have an association with let not the fruits of your action be your motive, nor let your attachment be to inaction. That you do things not because of something that is in your embodied brain that would inform, but it's more, you do it because you are self-realized, because you're listening more to the spirit. Is that I mean, I don't know, that's kind of this is the first, if that's the first time you've heard that, don't let your right hand know what you're doing. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. It took me several decades to realize that what it meant in my own experience, but now it strikes me to be similar to the experience of that place in between action and inaction, where it's not your action, but it's not your inaction. It's something that's neither of those. I don't know.
Interesting thought. Yeah.
We have a similar concept in Hinduism where we say, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And that's in the context of sharing or giving, more like in giving charity, so to speak. Your charity has to be so spontaneous and so anonymous that even your left hand doesn't know what your right hand is giving. Because if you are thinking about it, if you're processing it, then you've lost the attitude behind that action. It is just something the right hand does automatically, and you do it with that sense of, that intent of helping, sharing, giving. So that's the context we use that. But I like how you've extended it to fit with this. It's more like, keep your right hand focused on what you're doing in the present, and don't worry about, whether we're going to get this or that or what's the result. I think it connects well, but I haven't heard this saying in Christianity, so if it helps, thank you.
I studied the Bhagavad
Yeah.
Could you just describe that image here?
Sure. So this is Lord Krishna, an incarnation. We have, and you can go to the next slide. Oh, actually, go a few more. Yeah, here we go. The 3 devas. Okay, so when we, okay, here, yeah. So in Hinduism, different ways of practicing and being Hindu. And in the Bhagavad Gita, that image that you saw, that was a picture from the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna, one of the avatars, an avatar, you've heard of it, maybe you call it avatar, but avatar is the one who comes down, takes a form. When there is unjust, unrighteousness on this earth, the Lord comes to eradicate that negative energy, that negativity, and bring back harmony and peace. When Lord Krishna came to the earth, he came because there was this dissonance among families. There was a lot of discord and fighting. All of this unruly behavior was happening. So he came to bring the teachings, to bring back justice to the earth. So that picture, the prince, Lord Arjuna, is seated before him because he is in this state of disarray. He's just confused. He's despondent because he has to fight the enemy, which are his kith and his kin. So he says, I'd rather not fight. I'll take the loss. I don't want to fight them. This is where you can't not act. Lord Krishna tells him, you are born as a kshatriya, which is a warrior. You're born with these skills, these abilities. It is your duty, your karma, to utilize the skills that you're given. And it is your duty to bring dharma, righteousness, back to this earth. That is what your purpose is. And he goes through all the teachings. So the Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters, he gives them in the middle of this war to bring him back to spirits, to say, it is time for you to fight. So this same story we all have in our own minds. We're constantly in confusion. We're debating, should we do this? Should we do that? Do I want this? So that debate that goes in our mind, it's a reminder, Lord reminds us, make the right choice. Do what is right, follow the dharmic path, and know your abilities, know your skills, know the God-given skills and abilities that you've been given, and utilize them well. And so this is the guidance. This is the picture that we always look at when we think this is us. In many situations, we are like, just give us an answer, or let me get out of the situation. And he says, you can't get out of the situation. You are here. This is your purpose. Now take care. Do something that's going to bring back righteousness. So that's that image. And this Lord Krishna is one of the 10 avatars of the 10 gods that come down in the form at that time. So we say, there's 3 main deity forms or divine entities. The creator is Lord Brahma, the sustainer, Lord Vishnu, and the destroyer, Lord Shiva. We use a lot of these deity forms to help us personify greatness, to personify these elements of divinity. Lord Vishnu, the sustainer, he is the one that comes in these different forms onto earth at any given time when there is problems, when there is difficulties, when there is tragedies. He is here to eliminate that. So we always have to remember, even in our own personal lives, when we go through something, he is there, he is watching above and will guide us when needed. So the sustainer. And these are the 10 major avatars. And I had mentioned Lord Rama of the temple that was reinstated in India. He was the 6th avatar, the 7th avatar, and Lord Krishna was the 8th avatar. We even say Lord Buddha was one of the avatars of Vishnu. And we are yet to see the 10th or experience the 10th avatar. We say, yet the world may have some situation where the Lord will come to bring back, to reinstate Dharma, or difficulties in this earth. So there is yet an avatar to arrive. So it's always that hopefulness that, it is not what we go through are momentary situations, transient disappointments, transient joys, everything is just temporary. So what we have to understand is there's only one thing that's real, that is permanent, that is truth, that is the divine. So with our 3 gods, we have the consorts of 3 goddesses. So and they say, and this is all to help us kind of humanize that divine, to bring it closer to us and to find this form that is so appealing that we just want to bow down and pray to it and emulate some of the qualities that are given to these beautiful deity forms. So the Lord Brahma, the creator, his consort is the goddess Saraswati, Devi Saraswati. So it's like the creation can't be created without knowledge. So that combination. Lord Vishnu is a sustainer. His consort is goddess Lakshmi, goddess of wealth. You can't have activity without the resources. She is the one who gives resources, the wealth. And goddess Durga is the consort of Lord Shiva, the destroyer. No action can be done without that energy force, the power. Any questions about these forms?
So did the gods and goddesses actually come to earth and walk the earth? Is there a historical record where they were in physical presence on the earth?
So the avatars, like Lord Rama, there is evidence, especially with the Ram temple that is reinstated now in India. There was evidence that there was this kingdom, there was this divine entity that was born there on this land, walked this earth, like Jesus, Lord Krishna. There's a place where he was born in India. All the places he lived and moved throughout India are always worshipped as places that he stepped on.
So is there like a historical record similar to what we have in the New Testament about Jesus Christ coming to earth? Is there something similar to that? And
It's so hard to date or to know. I don't know if how, like, it's almost like a period, an era of a different time period, a different history. But it's like the evidence of just these two avatars and Lord Buddha. Those are, to our awareness. These other three devis and the three gods and three goddesses, they're kind of images that were created to help us understand how does this universe function? How does it work? So when the misconception that as Hindus believe in so many gods, believe in everything. We believe in everything in nature is God-like. Every human that walks on this earth is God-like. Every animal, every creature has goodness in them, has God in them. So to give us a visual, we have these deities. And when you go to a temple in India, a lot of times you have an image or a form, a murti. And people have, connections to a personal deity that they love. That some love the form of Lord Rama, some love the form of Lord Krishna, some love Lord Shiva. They have a favorite form. And I always say the example, like, we all love water, but you may like the beach, you may like going to the lake, you may like to see a waterfall. Essentially, everything is water. But they all come in different forms. You choose a form that you like, and you worship that.
So would it, because, and I kind of caught up, I mean, you explained more of what you had said before, which was very helpful. So do y'all see there being like one true God, but then when you're talking about the deities and the gods and the goddesses, I think this is what you just said, that those are descriptions and characteristics of that one. So like because I have heard people say like Hindus believe in many gods, it's not really many gods, they believe that everything in life is a reflection of that one God.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
That's absolutely right. Yes.
I'm wondering if you have any, in the context of the question of historical evidence or proof or evidence of any kind, do you have anything to say about Yogananda? I'm sure you know Yogananda and his book Autobiography of a Yogi, and the stories that he recounts there, which to me sound like some sort of evidence. Contemporary evidence.
Right.
And I've heard other stories of firsthand evidence, people who witnessed firsthand evidence, including medical doctors. And, so not so much hearsay or myth, but more. And so I'm just wondering how that fits in with all of these questions and your view.
Yeah, I mean, those are the saints that bring us our understanding of what our scriptures are teaching us. They kind of reiterate, try to, help us know that those are the truths. I mean, they experience it firsthand, and we just get the account of that. I mean, Paramahamsa Yogananda, the miracles he's experienced and the gods on earth that you can call them gods, deities, or his own saints or his own teachers, his gurus.
Right.
Everybody's a guru, right? And now guru is also become a very popular word. It's probably in the Webster's dictionary. Guru means the one who removes darkness. Remover of darkness, of anything, right? Your professor is your guru, your piano teacher is your guru, who helps you bring knowledge, takes you away from ignorance, brings you to awareness, is that guru. And so, yeah, these saints like Swami Yogananda Paramahamsa enlighten.
So, what,
What I heard was that there's a difference between a teacher who brings you illumination and in your unfoldment, and a guru in the sense of removing darkness. And what I heard was that, and it had to do with that Kriya Yoga stage of new karma. And it seems to me that Jesus is very much a guru in that sense, because the way I was told was that the true meaning of guru is the one who removes karmic darkness in a manner totally disproportionate to what you might deserve through the laws of karma, which is exactly what Jesus did. So I'm just wondering, because in that circle thing, the karmic circle, you had it say Kriya Yoga, new karma, and I heard that the new karma only comes from a true guru, which I believe means that they have already achieved the self-realization, the oneness with the divine creator, and are, because of that, capable of removing your karma. So I'm trying to find these parallels to what I see in Christianity.
It's, I mean, it's a lot, yes. I'm sure they're all parallels. I feel like that's, we all live in that life in order to achieve those goals. Our karmas, what we've come with and what we leave with, it all depends on what we're doing while we're on earth, right? Those are the pradabdas that we have to extinguish the karmas, and hopefully whatever new karmas come to us, if we are in the right places, that's why we always say engage in this type of activity, satsang, where we're reveling in these truths, trying to understand them. And these karmas evolve in a good way, right? So these help us remove the karmas that are unnecessary, extra, just, stay focused on the right karma that leads us out of the bondage.
I've got two questions. One's a very simple one. So my first question is, what do all those different arms mean on these figures? There are, 3 pairs of arms. Does that have any meaning? And the second question is, how does caste fit into all this? You haven't mentioned that.
Yeah. Okay, the arms, symbolic. We all wear many hats. Gods have many arms. And what are these arms for? Usually there's a hand that's blessing you. Usually there's a hand that's giving to you. There's weapons in hands to destroy, negative energies, to destroy the ego, to destroy that which should remove all the negative aspects of your being. So it's a symbolism of when we pray to that God, okay, help me overcome this obstacle. Help me receive this. Our prayers are often to receive or to get rid of, to receive or to get rid of. When do we just pray for the sake of praying? So this is the kind of connections over time people have found. When we think of a God, they will help us achieve our ultimate goal. And caste, get to here. Varnashrama is the term that's given for caste. Varna means colorful. We're all of various colors. From the scriptures, we all know that we have different abilities because of those karmas. Because of the karmas, we are colored differently. Our abilities, our skill sets, our where we live in life, what we receive in life, those are all how the type of person we are. And the skills that we have give us that particular caste that we belong to. So if you are educated, you're knowledgeable, and you have an awareness of the truth, you are of a Brahman caste. And everybody has every aspect of this caste within them. If you are a worker, you work hard and you try to support your family and you do all the right things to make sure that everybody's well supported, you have that vaishya, or the ability to have the good interactions and the transactions in the family. That's the Vaishya caste. When we defend and protect our family and ourselves, that's the Kshatriya in you. And then there are times of laziness and, we don't want to do anything and we just want to live off of whatever's happening given to us. That's the Shudra, like a little bit lower caste. So these are castes are not, they are personality types, they are skills, they are things that we all have in each of us. And from even in our body type, like here's the Brahman. This is the part of our physical body that thinks, that is looking towards the higher, right? And they say the Kshatriya, the arms, ready to move, act. So that's the defense or the Kshatriya. So these castes that we are known to have, these 4 castes are within us. We experience them. However, how it's translated after so much time and, the influx of migration and, the, what do you call it, the Muslim invasions and all these invaders that came and misinterpreted the understanding of what caste is. And then rather reinstated this group as the Brahmins, reinstated this group as the Kshatriyas, because it often tendency, when you are a priest, you teach your child the knowledge or the experience of a priest life. Or if you're a warrior, you teach your child. So it just happened to go like that. So then they would band together, the groups, as a caste. And misinterpreted over time a hierarchy.
So I don't see Dalits up there, the untouchables, but I've read that historically, a lot of people who were in the untouchable caste left Hinduism and embraced Islam because they were trying to escape this condition that they couldn't get out of. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I didn't grow up in India, and I didn't grow up with even knowing what my caste was. It only came to me later in life that, oh, my family is part of a shepherd class or caste, meaning my ancestors were shepherders. And so where does that fall under? I guess kind of the skilled, or even on the Shudras, the unskilled workers. Right? My dad was one among his, 10 brothers and sisters who got an education, worked hard, he became a doctor, he came to the United States. And so unskilled worker, but we're still considered a shepherd caste. And that label will maintain until somebody stops making reference to it. It's just, and unfortunately, that's how they still marry in India. They want to, they feel that you have comfort because you have familiarity with certain aspects of your caste. So they marry within the caste, or they try to keep people in those groups. But the oppression of the Dalits, the oppression of these and that it's become such a difficult thing to fathom and to acknowledge, to overcome. But it's in the process. It's in the progress of getting over this. I mean, it's just like racism, it's casteism, there's always groups that are oppressed, unfortunately, for where they were born, in what circumstance they were born into, and
It's the result of bad karma.
sometimes when I've been studying this more and more, and everything I think, like, there is, individual karma, there is group karma, there is community karma. So, why does a whole community suffer like this? Why, we don't know. Yeah. I mean, we know there's something that led to that, but
So another question, hope I'm not being a hog here, but I'm curious about whether within Hinduism, are there conflicting parts of Hinduism where some people have one view and other people have another view, and they hate each other? I mean, they fight with each other. I mean, Christianity and Islam are full of stuff like this, but I've never heard of anything like that within Hinduism. Does it exist?
it's like a family. There's all the five members of the family get along. There's always viewpoints, right? Even within the family. But schools of philosophy, I mentioned in the beginning, there are 6 schools of philosophy in Hinduism. And I think they coexist because, you have the right to believe how your God is to you. Are you one with God, or are you a part of God? Is God a different entity? So there's some schools of philosophy believe that everything is God, everything is Brahman, everything is divine. Some people believe divinity is out there and I'm trying to reach that. So how we connect with divine might be different in the Hindu philosophy. There are differences in, even who you believe in as the better God. People who worship Lord Shiva are Shaivites. People who worship Lord Vishnu are called Vishnuites. So there's differences. I mean, God is God. They're just a different form. However, some ego within them will try to convince everybody that your God is better than their God. So there is disputes in small ways like that, I believe, right? Want to expound on that?
It's more the lack of understanding from the person's point of view. If we are not mature in our thinking of what is God and what does God mean to us, then we become fanatical in any religion, for that matter. But otherwise, it's more harmonious. That makes sense. If I don't have an understanding of what Shiva means to me or what Vishnu means to me, then it becomes more narrow and then it becomes fanatical. But when my perspective is right and broad, then it's more harmonious. So
Are
it's
there progressive forms of Hinduism in which people or religious people are trying to bring the modern perspective of the world into the religion and bring it up to date with current knowledge and experience? Is there a form of that, or is it all just sort of one continuous, unchanging set of mystical principles? I don't have a sense of that either.
I mean, it's an ancient religion which has sustained time immemorial. So it's a religion that evolves with the times. But the principles and tenets will always be the same. The principle of that divine nature, that we are part of a supreme consciousness, that we have our work to do, our karmas to perform. We have to be on this path of Dharma. Those principles will always, I think, sustain. But what the particular actions over time, that changes. How we approach the situations.
And more directly, yes, there is a huge movement to go back and study our scriptures. It was always there. It's more predominant now. So that's the school I went to. I went back home and studied for a year I spend time studying what our scriptures are saying and what they means. What's happened is in the everyday world, as time went by, we kind of didn't go, our whole way of living changed, and we got away from knowing the essence and the meaning of our scriptures. We kept the religious part of it, but the philosophy was lost, and somewhere there was a disconnect. So now, of course, the movement to study the scriptures was always there. I think it's fueled now in the last, I don't know, 68 years. Even Chinmaya Mission is in the purpose of existence of Chinmaya Mission is to spread the knowledge of our scriptures so that people have a better understanding, and then we have maximum happiness for maximum. So yes, the movement is there. How many of us engage?
I'm curious about what the communal, like, what does the communal practice of Hinduism look and feel like
Yeah.
on a daily and
I'm gonna give
annual
that one slide. Most of our homes, we have a space where we keep an altar, and we might place our favorite form of a divine there. So at home, a puja or altar space. And if you go to a temple, you'll experience a puja. And a puja is an experience where we activate all the five senses. They say, because we're so distracted with all the happenings around us, to really find stillness in a space and to just offer ourselves and activate the sense of sight, visualize this deity form as divine. Smell the incense or the fragrance, hear the ringing of the bell to wake us up, the smell of the flowers. To activate the senses, to be present, is a performance of a puja. And we do pujas all the time because that brings us into the moment, make us present. So sometimes physically we need to do things to pull us away from the monotony of life or the mundane life that we tend to lead very materialistically, and come back and remember, where's our source? What is our source? Who is the giver of all that we have? So we offer puja. People go to the temples to worship. In Durrani, Durham, we have about 6 temples. They're beautiful. Anybody goes to any temple if, it's very open to all. The temples, one temple has all the deities, different forms, most important deities. Another temple only has one deity that community had great reverence for. So they built a temple for this deity. So like that, strength of the group, the community, they will build a temple in honor of a deity form. And then the Hindu Society of North Carolina has about 10 different, murtis. We call them murtis, meaning embodied forms that give us this connection to God. Yes.
Can Dalits go into the temples?
Now, all are welcome to the temple, unless the people of that temple are, narrow-minded, they have issues, but Dalits, all castes are welcome in all temples. I mean, definitely in the United States, that's not even recognized, but in India, probably small villages, small places where there's a little bit less awareness and knowledge, they might hold on to some of those old, unfortunate practices.
And I have one other question, somewhat different, but Prime Minister Modi, from all I'm reading, is wanting India to become a completely Hindu country in ways similar to Arab countries that are completely Muslim. There is there is a large Muslim minority in India, and my understandings is there is a lot of conflict between the Hindus and Muslims, and so but I'd be interested to hear your comments on that.
Yeah, I am aware of the conflict. It's always unfortunate that there is. And it's political more than the religious aspect of it. When, you get caught up in the politics of, religion, It creates this differentiation. Most places, there's harmony among Muslims and Hindus where they live. There are some places where there is intense strife, and that continues to be over generations. I think Prime Minister Modi's intentions are to bring back that spiritual life of Hinduism that existed thousands of years ago, to bring back that nature of oneness. I don't think it's to pull apart anybody, but it's to unite and bring peace back and bring that, level of harmony that used to exist in the times of our, these Lord avatars, Lord Krishna, who existed on the earth, to bring back that understanding of what is Dharma.
I know our time is up. I know we all, it's been wonderful questions, wonderful information. We want to thank you so much for coming. If we can show her our appreciation. So thank you, thank you. Next week's speaker actually is online right now, Dr. Christian Wilson, who just asked those questions. And he will be enlightening us on Mark Stephanus, AKA Robert Esteen, in the lectionary. I have no idea if I said those names correctly. You can pronounce them correctly next week if I didn't, but he'll be here with us next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.